Hey, this is BA and welcome to GANN and Astro Cycles. What we're going to learn in this video is that there is a connection between GANN and Luther Jensen and why that's important and how to benefit from that. About 2005, an investigator was hired by this presenter to better understand the life of Luther James Jensen, known in the GANN circles as LJ. What he discovered would help many better understand GANN's techniques, meaning what that researcher uncovered will help us today. Jensen worked for GANN from about 1930 up until GANN's death in the summer of 1955. At that point, Jensen took a couple years off and then joined up with the Wall Street firm that he forecasted for through the 1960s and 70s. Jensen was well off, as the investigator found and interviewed an old, aging man that knew Jensen personally and had been to his house several times in the late 1930s. A direct quote from this man was that Jensen was well off, meaning he had a nice house which was nicely decorated. Now, what's important here is Jensen died in 1980, and so you're going back a little over 40 years that this guy knew him, and he was doing well back in the late 1930s. Okay, so the investigator actually found a guy that knew him from that period. It was awesome, a great discovery. Jensen left behind for us some small pamphlets, of which some were woven into a book entitled Astral Cycles and Speculative Markets. This book is currently, as of this writing, still to be found on the internet. I highly recommend it, and no, I don't sell it. You can get it on the internet. This book is critical to understand what GANN was really doing. It contains the square of 90 and an explanation of how to get it working. It also explains things like the business cycle. Okay, and this is a page out of the book. The work financed by Harvard Committee on Research in Social Sciences has resulted in tracing this correlation. They're talking about the sunspot correlation from the 17th century South Sea bubble down to the present year. The last sunspot cycle began with a minimum of spots in 1923, a maximum in 1928-29, and another minimum in 1933-34. Another maximum point is expected late in 1938. Basically, what that's saying, and this should really stun some people, is that business cycle is completely, the gas that the business cycle runs on is the sunspot cycle. The more the more sunspots you have, the market should be increasing. The less sunspots you have, the market should be decreasing. And I go into more examples of this more in depth in my video called Primary Planetary Trend. Okay, so look for that video on that. So because I can only scratch the surface on this. Notice we had a low in 1922 in the stock market, a high in 1929, and a low in 1932. Okay, and we had highs in 37 and 38 in the stock market. So as you can see, it follows along really close. Okay. It is amazing to think that the entire boom and bust business cycle can be boiled down to sunspot numbers. Yet in the 19 years I have had Jensen's book, I can say through firsthand examination and research on over 100 years of historical data that indeed this is the cause. Okay, like right now, we're in spring of 2016 here, and think about all the businesses that are going out and getting loans, having no idea that the business cycle's already peaked and that we're going down. They're trying to expand in a contracting cycle. You see how powerful just this information is? The presentation is being compiled in March of 2016. At the time of this writing, the sunspot cycle has peaked, and the business cycle has also peaked. It has been showing up in the data, and the worldwide economy is said to be slowing. This was easy for me to predict years in advance. My next target, a massive economic low point in 2020 and 2022 area. Okay, and like I said, this is 2016, so we're a whole 4 to 6 years out on that. It will come. You'll see. What's important to us in this presentation is that Jensen really helps us understand W.D. Gann's methods. Jensen never directly alludes to Gann in his book, but he worked for him for over 25 years. Jensen definitely knew Gann's methods. Therefore, it is important to research Jensen's book first, as this will provide background to the seeker. That's critical to understand right there. Okay, so many people don't even know about this book and about this connection, and yet, you know, to understand the square of 90 from W.D. Gann's work is awful hard. From Jensen's work, it's easier. It's not easy, but it's easier. Let's take a look at some parts of Jensen's book. I first acquired my book on April 3rd, 1997. Instead of showing pristine copies, which I could have acquired, I wanted to show you my well-worn original. So it's, as you can see, marked up. It's going to get worse as we go. A Pythagorean, this is from page 102 of the book. A Pythagorean proposition that all things consist of three, the trinity of proportions, or the arithmetical, geometrical, and harmonical. In market terms, this is a clue to the relationship which exists between the angle of lift in charted prices, the prices, and the extent or time of market activity in days, weeks, or months. Pythagoras taught further that there was a numerical relationship in all phenomena, the harmonic intervals of numbers with sounds, the relationship that the square of the hypotenuse in a right-handed triangle is equal to the sum of the squares on the other two sides, and more important, that angles of a sphere have specifically corresponding numbers which are sensitive to those angles in space, infinity, and time. The lift angle of charted prices does coincide with numbers at specific points in space, corresponding to price and time. And those observations is the entire basis of geometrical charts. Okay, and up here, the 90-degree angle is the square unit of the symbol of median force and resistance. Two 90-degree angles are equal to 180, or the symbol of opposition and alternative. Okay, all degrees which divide 90 equally are related to resistance. Any unit, like 1/2, 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, etc., are all harmonical divisions of 90, while 1/3, 1/6, 1/9, etc., are all harmonical divisions of 120. The 120-degree angles and harmonic divisions relate to coordination, harmony. So in the zodiac sign relationship, the major triangles or trines tie earth to earth, there, fire, water, water. In market charts, these units mark areas of market adjustment or areas and periods of consolidation in time and price. Okay. In preparing charts, it does not matter what unit of measure may be selected, just as long as it's followed throughout the chart. Use any type of paper from 20 by 20 squares to an inch to 1 by 1 square to an inch. The only point is to maintain a balance of units. Very important concept there. Okay. According to the Pythagorean observation, the degree units, called angles, of a circle have numerical coordinates which are harmonical. From this axis, these points form angles of 90, 45, 22.5, 11.25, 67.5, etc. in the squares, 75, 60, 30, 15, 45, 90, etc. in the trines. Note that 90 and 45 appear in both groups. Okay. In time measure, all harmonical points of 90 are from 0 to 360, represent days, weeks, or months in resistance from a major high or low. This coincides with 88, 44, and 22 day cycles of Mercury, like 90, 45, and 22. So it can be readily observed that the Pythagorean postulate proves out that there is a harmonical relationship between the angles and numbers, which in terms of market charts ties up the lift of the price structure with time and resistance. When he's talking about time, he's talking about time cycles. Time cycles. Okay. Here's where he starts. This is the square of 90 here. You can see it's 90 up and 90 across. Page 111. And it's page 111, and the high is 111, which happens to be the square of 11. Instructions for the square of 90 start here and go on down. So as you can see, it's a very important book. Okay, very important, and yet most people don't know about it. Okay, strange, but that's the truth. And so you can see the Jensen-Gann connection. W.D. Gann has the square of 90 in his work, and he talks about it, not as in depth, not as in detail as Jensen does in his book. So the importance of Jensen's book can quickly be seen, and we just touched on a couple of elements. Did you know this information? If you've gained insight from my videos, subscribe so you can get the latest on my free market calls, forecasts, commentary, and teachings. Knowledge is priceless. Hey, this is BA telling you you can succeed. Bye-bye.